Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining us this evening for the City Council meeting and public hearing at the City of Alpharetta, April 13th, 2026. I'm going to go ahead and call that meeting to order. And just because some of you may have a printed agenda that's been updated, I want to let you know that the following items have been deferred and will not be considered this evening. First one being PH-26-04, Unified Development Code text amendments, commercial vehicles. The other being MP-26-02, Lakeview Park MP/Trayton Homes. Neither of those items will be heard this evening, so you might have just saved yourself a little bit of time if you were here to discuss these issues. I'll note for the record that all members of council are present and accounted for. And as always, we begin meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you're willing and able, please stand and join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item on tonight's agenda is the consent agenda. Consent agenda consists of the City Council special called meeting minutes from the meeting of March 23rd, 2026. Excuse me. City Council meeting minutes from the meeting of March 23rd, 2026. And the financial management report for the month ending January 31st, 2026. Is there anyone that would like to remove anything from the consent agenda this evening? Seeing none, do we have any public comments on the consent agenda?
No, sir, we do not.
However, if anyone wants to come forward and speak about the consent agenda, now's your chance to do so. I see no one coming forward, so we'll close public comment on the consent agenda. Do I have a motion from council?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. I have a motion by Councilman Hypes, second by Mayor Pro Tem. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please vote yes. And it does pass unanimously. So we'll move on to the public hearing portion of this evening's council meeting. Announcement of public hearing procedures. Ms. Eswine, would you mind explaining those?
An individual requesting to be heard on a matter related to the purpose of the hearing must be recognized by the mayor before addressing the city council. Upon rising to speak, the speaker must identify himself or herself and furnish a home or business address before proceeding with any comments or remarks. The council will allow the proponent a total of 10 minutes to speak in support of an application. Opponents will be allowed 10 minutes to speak in opposition. Comments are accepted first from the applicant, followed by persons speaking in favor, and then from those in opposition. Upon conclusion of any opposing comments or presentations, the mayor will allow the applicant to offer rebuttal if any time is remaining in the originally allotted 10 minutes.
Thank you, ma'am. And the first item in public hearing will be CLUP-25-05/Z-25-18/V-25-32 McKinley Homes, Morse Road. Mr. Woodman, I believe you have the floor on this item.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The request before you this evening is a request from McKinley Homes. They're requesting a comprehensive land use plan amendment, rezoning, and variance to allow a mixed-use development consisting of 110 for-sale condominium units, 207,000 square feet of office, which is existing on the property today, and a 5,000 square feet of retail restaurant use, and that's on about 15 acres. In the Windward Parkway and Highway 9 Strategic Master Plan. I'm going to refer to that as the Windward LCI because they're one and the same, and it's a little easier to say. The proposed density with this development would be 7.35 dwelling units per acre. There is a comprehensive land use plan amendment from corporate office to mixed use, a rezoning from O&I office institutional to MU mixed use, and there is a variance to reduce the minimum lot size and the minimum commercial percentage in the MU zoning district. And I do have the location map here. The properties are 12725 and 12735 Morse Road. And that's at the southeast corner of Old Morse Road and Morse Road, right at the city limits with City of Milton. Property is developed with 2 4-story office buildings. You can see those here in the aerial. And there are a little over 800 parking spaces surrounding those office buildings. That property is known as Deerfield Point today. The Windward Plaza Shopping Center is located just south of this property. There's an LA Fitness and Courtyard by Marriott Hotel on the west side. City of Milton, the Verizon office properties are located to the north of this location. And then there's another hotel, the Hampton Inn and Suites, and an undeveloped commercial property that are located to the west, to the east. Because this is the first redevelopment project that we've seen under the Windward LCI, which was adopted in 2004. Wanted to give a little bit of background on that. We did have that LCI updated in 2024. Again, was a joint effort between the City of Alpharetta, City of Milton, and the True North CID. That plan actually envisions, and this is the study area right here that you see on this map. This includes both the Alpharetta portions and Milton portions. What you're seeing on this graphic is that 7 of our 10 largest employers are located within this district. And for Milton, 10 of their 10 largest employers are located in this district. So it's a pretty important location. The plan actually envisioned the applicant's property that you'll see tonight to be as part of a town center development. So they saw the addition of office, residential, and retail in a mixed-use environment similar to what you see here at City Center. So again, this is the applicant's property here, and this light blue area is called out in the plan for town center type development. And within this graphic, again, the subject property is located right here where I've highlighted, and again, housing, retail, and reimagining office is the vision for that particular area. Also, the plan suggests at this location construction of higher density residential housing integrated with the existing and future uses in the area, such as parks, retail, or trails, as being the most effective way to attract new residents to this area. On this graphic, this is also from the LCI. This is the applicant's property here, highlighted in yellow. You see that there's a green connection that runs through the property and would connect Windward Parkway to Morris Road up on the north side. And the purpose of that is the City of Milton does have a 1-mile loop. It's depicted here. That's just north of the property. And it's that loop surrounds an existing lake. And I'll talk a little bit more about a future public park property near that loop as well in just one moment. So this property is shown as a location where you would have both vehicular and pedestrian connection, connecting in over to the future development in the City of Milton as well. As it relates to the Milton project, so this is just, these are just some trail connection, trailhead infrastructure that they're showing with some trail projects that would go through the property, and I'll show you those on their site plan in just one second. But this is the large park development envisioned directly north of the applicant's property. This is in the city of Milton, and that site is envisioned to be a public park and event facility with restaurant, taking advantage of views of that existing lake. And I will not belabor the LCI any further beyond that, but if you have any questions, we can certainly come back to those. As I mentioned, the applicant does have two variances. One is to the minimum lot size, so reduce the minimum lot size in the MU district from 25 acres to just under 15 acres. And then also the minimum commercial percentage, which is 10% in MU, they're asking to reduce that to 1.5%. The reason for that is there's the existing shopping center immediately to the south of the property. There's over 260,000 square feet of commercial development within that shopping center. So that is the justification for the applicant's variance. Now I'll get to the site plan for the applicant. So this is the site today. So again, Morris and Old Morris on the east side. The shopping center is located just to the south of this development, and you can see the two existing office buildings and surrounding surface parking. What the applicant is proposing to do is to add a 3-story condominium building with parking deck in the existing surface parking lot. Basically, the 3 buildings, the 2 existing office buildings to remain, and the new condo building would frame this central amenity space here at their main entrance off of Morris Road. As I mentioned, there's 5,000 square feet of retail restaurant uses that is proposed to occur in the ground floor of the northern office building here. The applicant has taken the existing drive aisles within the surface parking lot, and they have added sidewalks. So you have sidewalks along both sides here. You have sidewalk connections that have been added over to the 2 office buildings, as well as to the future retail in this building. So they've done that all within the existing surface parking lot. The condo building is pulled up to Morris Road. It has about a 35-foot setback. It's similar setback that the existing office building has over here. As I mentioned, there's a 3-level parking deck. See if I have this might be a better one to work off of since that's in color. So there's a 3-level parking deck connected on the south side of the condo building, 210 spaces in the parking deck. There'll be a balance of about 615 surface parking spaces left, serving all uses on the property. There is just over 4.25 acres of open space throughout the development. The main part of open space is taking advantage of this existing lake on the west side, which is a detention feature, stormwater feature. So the applicant, in addition to that connection through the shopping center to the south, would continue the vehicular connection out to Morris Road, but they would also have a multi-use trail that would run along the west side of the future condo building and adjacent to the existing pond. And as I mentioned, that pond does serve not only this existing office development, but the shopping centers as well, and does have capacity for this improvement. The open space on the site, of course, includes the multi-use trail, but it also includes pool and amenity areas, courtyards, lobby and amenity area, central amenity area, yards, balconies, landscaped areas, entry features, and outdoor seating. And then there are existing trees along the perimeter of the property. The existing trees will remain around the perimeter of the property. The only trees that would be removed are existing planted trees that were within the former surface parking lot, and then some trees along this section where the multi-use trail would be installed. The applicant did provide a trip generation report. The addition of the condo units to the property would result in an increase of 60 AM peak hour trips and 82 PM peak hour trips. And the applicant did submit a traffic study, even though the condos by themselves did not trigger the traffic study, but we looked at it from the standpoint of the condos, the future retail restaurant, as well as the existing office buildings. That traffic study did study 7 intersections and concluded that no changes or improvements are recommended to the existing driveway configurations, except for there is an existing driveway right here, and that one will be closed off. So the remaining access to the site will be 2 existing curb cuts off of Morris Road, as well as an existing curb cut on Old Morris Road. And then you will be able to access this property through the drive aisle from the shopping center to the south. And to give you a little bit of flavor of the architecture that the applicant was proposing, so instead of doing one large condo building that looked like one mass, they were trying to divide it up so it looked like individual units. So you could see that here and here. And of course, looking at the review criteria for the comprehensive land use plan amendment, rezoning, and variance, we believe the proposal is consistent with that vision in the Wentworth LCI that looks at this property as part of a town center development, integrating those existing and future uses into a mixed-use development by adding the higher density housing. We also looked at land use, housing, and economic development strategies in the current comprehensive plan. We believe that it is consistent with strategies that encourage mixed-use patterns that create activity nodes in appropriate areas near or within existing suburban office developments. One of the strategies talks about diversifying housing options and expanding missing middle housing choices. Condominium is always one of those that we push for, but we rarely get. And then also the economic development strategy of investing in office districts with amenities that attract highly skilled employees. I believe citywide we're about a 23% office vacancy. Originally, we studied this area because of the change in office vacancy from about 5% in 2016 to over 20% in 2023. As it relates to the applicant's variances, we believe that the city's MU zoning district didn't contemplate this type of mixed-use development where we're retrofitting existing areas and connecting them to other uses in the vicinity. Also, the request to reduce the commercial percentage, we believe, is supported by the 260,000 square foot of commercial in the adjacent shopping center, which this development would be connected to. The applicant did provide a citizen participation report indicating that they had received no public comments. And then this request was shown to the public at the November 12th Community Zoning Information Meeting. There was one public comment with concerns over protecting tree canopy. And then the Planning Commission considered this request at their March 5th meeting. There were no public comments at that meeting, and Planning Commission recommended approval subject to 28 conditions as shown in the staff report in your packets. And that concludes staff report. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Thank you, Mr. Woodman. Do we have any questions for Mr. Woodman at this time? Councilwoman Reeves?
The detention pond is currently, it exists right now.
Yes, this
And-
pond.
Is there any kind of a water feature in there that keeps the water moving? Because with people living there, I would think that we would not want standing water.
Great question. I do not believe that there is. We did look at that, and there is a condition of zoning here that would require them to add a fountain to that stormwater feature.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Woodman on this item? Councilwoman Reeves?
So the road that comes from the Windward Plaza, from the shopping center over, now, will that be a regulation-size road that goes, that anybody can access that development from?
I believe you'd be talking about
Yes.
this one. So that is it is a private drive today. We did ask the developer, to reach out to the adjacent property. If this shopping center were to ever redevelop in the future, we would look to get right-of-way for a local street section to come through here. Right now, it was developed as a drive aisle, basically. There are sidewalks, so the applicant has added sidewalks within their drive aisles. So there would be a sidewalk connection as well as a vehicular connection, but I do not believe it meets our full local street standard as it sits today.
Thank you.
Any other council members have questions? Thank you, Mr. Woodman. Would the applicant like to come forward at this time?
Awesome, thank you so much. Kenneth Wood, 350 Research Court, Peachtree Corners, Georgia. Thank you so much for letting us review the mixed-use proposal for this. This is a project I've actually looked at for quite a few years in a couple of different capacities, kind of this area. And finally seeing some different movement. It's exciting to see the ideas for a mixture of uses. I feel like I've worked on a lot of projects in south of Charlotte where we're taking existing office, preserving the office, and just adding more residential to make it mixed use. So it's exciting to see in this area also kind of some of the same ideas. McKinley Homes purchased the property for office. They intend to keep it as office. They have purchased quite a few offices within the Atlanta metro area. They also own the office over toward Peachtree Corners as well, looking at some similar ideas. So both offices right now, they have a pretty good amount of capacity in them in terms of I think they're 75% right now. One of the ideas for the retail, I have an office over at the Battery where the ground floor, you walk in and it has kind of it's not a sundries, but it's a place where you can get sandwiches, you can get food, you can get drinks at the bottom, a place to sit down and be able to have lunch, have breakfast, anything like that. So that was kind of the idea that we looked at when you walk in the building at the ground floor. There's a couple of different spots on that far corner here that you can retrofit that like that. So when you're looking at development, kind of the way we set up, that's what we're kind of looking for. So in the context of the area here, you're coming off basically of Windward. It is a straight shot. I went out after the Planning Commission. We made some revisions to the plans. I'll show you guys what those were. It definitely feels just like a road. They have agreements to get back there for being able to get to the site. It's been used for as long as it's been built now, and it definitely feels like your main entry into the site, and but also the main entry coming off of Morris Road where you see it through the top. A couple of things that are unseen that's kind of driving this. And when we first started looking at the site, we looked at the residential being on this right side. It kind of fit a little more awkwardly, and then we started really paying attention to the existing lake. I know we started talking about the water features, the ability to have kind of the trail on the lake, how that can feel, and that was one of the driving features when we went out there. You can easily basically upgrade that lake, be able to have the fountains in it. That's where the staff conditions, we talked to them about that, so that you can have that circulating water, because it's actually a pretty good sized body of water. It's not small when you go out there, and so being able to visualize the trail being along it is really nice. The other thing that is really driving this that's unseen is what's happening in Milton, directly above that. And that's when the conversation started probably about a year ago about this idea for McKinley to start looking at condominium development. So the Verizon campus is selling the entire campus into a major mixed-use development. You have the City of Milton Park that's up here. That's going to be a lot of different fields. There's going to be an basically a pedestrian pass over the road here into Verizon. Old Morris is going to be the main connection. This is going to be the amphitheater. This is going to be basically the area over here and the concentration for that. And that's one of the things that kind of created this, is this main drive that was here for one of the curb cuts kind of over on the side of the office. On the future plans that I've seen, that's not one of the main drives. It just only goes into one section of it. But it's all concentrated over here onto Old Morris, which our full access curb cut has over here when you're looking at it. So that was one of the big drivers when we really started getting into it. And then it was also, as we started going through the LCI, which Michael mentioned about, you're so walkable to the commercial. You have your office there and you have so much commercial. And you're even really close. If you wanted to go down to Sushi Nami, it's not very far. You can kind of cross over the road and get down to there as well. So you have a lot of different options for the site. And so when I saw it and started thinking about the plan, Smallwood Reynolds is the architect. They came out with the building and we fit it together on this plan to try to work here in a space so that you would frame all three buildings. You had the two office buildings and this would kind of frame that last building. And that's why we really wanted to make sure we were keeping this courtyard. When you drive in, there's huge oak trees. If you've been out there, they're pretty substantial. The sidewalk meanders all the way down through here. It's a really cool setting. And so we really wanted to preserve that courtyard. And so we mimicked it on the other side, mimicked it with the way when you come in, you can have kind of that business center as part of the condominium, and then our pool on the inside, and then the walking trail around it. With basically the covered parking here on the side. This would all be landscaped, also landscaped on the edges. But we have our sidewalks on each side as you're going through. And if you kind of look down a couple of other places, these are our access points. And the site plan that's our most current, you can see it here. We changed the head-end parking on this access to be parallel so that all the way up to the front of the office, if you are coming from the south, it felt more like a street coming in. But you can also leave over here, come to Old Morris. A lot of people today kind of come out of here, even with this one, because it is crossing 4 lanes of traffic. It's not the most feel-good exit. That was the reason we decided to put it over here, take this one out, and focus all the traffic on the other directions of the plan was for that reason, the way when you're out there and driving through. The open space and civic space, this is what it looks like. McKinley owns the majority of the lake. That gives us an advantage. The other side portion of it is by the HOA, and so we can work with them to make those changes to that lake and be able to get it in there. The same amenities that the office have would be with the condominium, so essentially they would have kind of a joint HOA governing all the landscaping in front of each one. This is a look at what that landscape area looks like with the 10-foot trail coming down and connecting back into the road. And then these are the architectural, Michael went through them, but the idea, what Smallwood created, he was really trying to make it look almost like if it's, instead of one continuous building, like it's a townhome and then a townhome, as you're looking through with larger decks, much larger decks than you see on like more of what we'd see at like an apartment building since it's a condominium. Also the reason only being 110 units as well. This kind of gives you an idea. The courtyard is pretty flat kind of throughout, and this is the way we have the residential units and how you kind of have the lobby and the amenities and everything in here kind of sitting as part of the two. And you can see it from over here by the lake and then up here. It's only about 6 feet across, and so that's the beauty of kind of redeveloping in this kind of setting. Kind of last couple of things. These are the photos we took, the way this kind of feels coming into the site. You have the divided median that takes you about kind of halfway through there, and then you kind of have the last part as you're coming back up and getting directly into the office building, into the backside. This is what the backside feels like. So this sidewalk that's here, we'd be extending that, adding the trail over on this side, and coming into the site from that direction. We did have a traffic study, as Michael suggested. We did not see any impacts on that, and we made sure to go through a full traffic study to make sure we were being able to circulate throughout the area as best as possible. And we also had to take into consideration what was coming across the street. That was one of the biggest things. And it's always hard to talk, it's not even, I don't even know if it's public yet, but we know what's coming across the street. So we had to be able to get a hold of that plan and be able to come through and look at that and make sure we're looking at the traffic in the right way and not just being short-sighted without taking that into account. And then lastly, Same as Planning Commission with their approval. We're good with all of the conditions that we went through with this, the design conditions as well as the other conditions that were placed on the property for that. And in closing, and kind of running back through, when we looked at the plan for the LCI study, we felt like this is what made the most sense. McKinley's has a condo down in Midtown. They have condo in Peachtree Corners. This is one where, how are they able to do it? Well, they own the property. The office is what's generating. And so it's basically free land, essentially, for them to build on the residential, as well as the 3 stories, and not trying to push the stories up to 5 stories from a construction cost also is very helpful. A couple of comments that came up at Planning Commission I just want to mention. Around 4,500 to 4,900 is the anticipated HOAs on a yearly basis for that. And then their goal is to hit into the upper 3s, into the higher 4s, so that they can hit a price point that is not really seen in a lot of areas with these condos. And so that is the driving factor for being able to execute a high-level project, but being able to be a condominium fitting in with a office development of that sort. But with that, I can take any questions. Love any feedback.
Do we have any questions? Councilman Dorito?
Thank you, Mr. Wood. I like the project, so I don't want you to think my questions are against it, but
No, sure.
I just want to kind of get some clarity on some things. The parking deck, 210 spaces, obviously removing parking. How many spaces were removed, or do you know that offhand?
How many we
How many
took
spaces
out?
were in that acreage there where the condominium building would be built in the parking deck?
Oh,
that
man,
were-
I had that. Hold on, let me see.
I was looking for that, but I didn't.
Yeah, we have a full survey. Michael, do you have that sheet?
Let me ask you a different way. Does it meet the parking with the removal of those spaces and within the parking deck to accommodate the number of spaces required for the condominiums, plus you said, I think Mr. Woodman alluded to that the deck would also be shared with the office, or no?
The ground, like in the ground floor, there are some spaces that are available. We don't think they'll be utilized, but in terms of like that mixed parking ordinance, we needed to make it available. But we do not believe it would be utilized because we have the surface parking kind of right here in front. We have the parallel here. This is plenty of parking for the office, and it actually funnels closer to the office. And so the deck is really to support the residential. And then we do believe these surface spots, I feel like I'm seeing in every residential that the surface like go first. It's just a thing. I feel like that's just where they go, and then they start filling up the decks. But we do feel like the deck is plenty of parking for the residential, but it is availability if it has overflow to come in here.
And I guess at this point, this is really more of an initial rendering, right? We don't know what the parking deck's going to look like as far as the elevation of it.
Well, we're anticipating DRB to have us, to where it's kind of Avalon, it's going to need to have, painted. It's going to need to have all of the different spindles and everything as part of the concrete work and everything. So we're anticipating it to have to look like a building.
And just one more question. I know you made reference to McKinley Homes purchasing the property with the office buildings on it. When I look at McKinley Homes, that they're a housing developer. They're not an office developer. I'm not saying that they would not retain these office buildings, but do we know for a fact that they have no interest of removing those office buildings?
So Jen, the owner of McKinley, he does run McKinley Homes, but he does condo. Like I personally work on condos. He'll build office. He'll do industrial. Like what he really pushes is urban. And he really likes urban townhomes and a perfect.
And I should add that. I read that as well, that McKinley Homes actually looks for this type of development to build
That's right.
housing around and stuff.
But
so.
he does kind of just a random thing over in Johns Creek right now. we have a site, and we zoned it, and it's literally, $1 million homes. And then right here, he has another site, and he's wanting to do pickleball courts that you come and rent. So he's just, I don't know, he's a well-funded and always comes up with different ideas. And I definitely can see he's liking these kind of urban environments.
I think that office building to the south there, the big white thing you see there, I'm not sure that's fully utilized right now. I think that used to be wasn't that the H. Craig or whatever that electronics store was? Oh. Oh, okay. All right, I stand corrected. Well, thank you.
Councilman Brady?
Yeah, mine's just a little bit more about the units. First of all, I'm really impressed with the design, how you actually put this together, and the amenities you're gonna have and the way you did it. I think it really actually flows well. I was gonna ask a bunch of questions to your compliance, but I'm quite confident you got the legal. So, and do kind of think a little bit about the parking deck and the aesthetics, and DRB will tackle that. So I didn't know if you had ideas or you're waiting for us to tell you what those design elements would be. Mine's more about the units. I know most of them are 2 bedrooms. You can't exceed 2 bedrooms and the 1 bedroom. Tell us who's going to live there. What is, what is the square footage of these, and define a little bit of that price point again for me. I know you said a number, but I want to make sure we're all hearing that number correctly. Exactly, 2 or 3 million or hundreds of thousands.
No.
Okay. What are we talking about? Right there was a little. I just want to get some clarity on that.
Understood. So he does a lot of work with Smallwood, and so I believe his name's Song, and I believe he was one of the ones that did a lot of the architecture around here. And so he kind of came up with this kind of that style of it. And so what they're really trying to do, you're kind of that 900 to 1,000 on your ones, and then you go up to the 12 to 1,300 on your twos. And really, the idea is to capture. I think Michael kind of said it, and this is what was one of the driving factors. Is there's so many big companies in this area, and I think they're really trying to capture people that want to have a lock and go lifestyle in this area. And I think I don't know that I've heard, at least Henry Massey, who's had to fly out today with McKinley, but I don't know if I've heard him say he's targeting 55 and older, or if he thinks it'll be more younger coming into that area. But he thinks it's going to be those two dynamics because it's so close to everything. This area is like the next area with everything happening. Milton's putting probably the most I've ever seen them put in a lot of years. It's usually more restricted, but they're really going all in here. And so there's so much. And then, with everything going on in the area with the restaurants and ease to get to, you have the private school up the street, great public schools. So I think it's probably going to be kind of that younger, working in the area type of thing. And they're really trying to hit a 3 hanger is what I call it. So 380 to 390,000 to be able to come in, purchase one, and then obviously they're going to go up into the 4s, and I'm sure like everything they'll go into the 5s with the 2 bedrooms, but they're really trying to see if they can come out and hit that number, the 390,000, not anything in the millions. This one, the idea for this one is to really try to meet kind of what we feel like people in the area could work and live there.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Reeves?
He makes those decisions.
So,
She had asked before.
Oh, you make the decision. I got the problem.
so the driveway that's a street, sort of, that goes in, it's probably going to be one of the main ways in and out. And I really love the walkway next to the detention pond that hopefully will have a beautiful water feature in it. And I noticed the trail, and with everything going on in the north, as you mentioned, that's going to be an open walkway for everyone, right?
That's right.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that that was going to be a public walkway because it is obviously important north-south connector.
It's, so in seeing the plan just north of us, it would actually, the idea is that if you're like at the amphitheater or you're at that park, you could walk down kind of Sushinami, which is kind of west of us, but the amount of restaurants that are kind of just below us and little like quick, like eatery little places, you know, the idea that you could kind of hop on that trail, come down, and then hit this sidewalk system and be in that center real quickly, that's the idea.
I
And
mean,
so it would be public.
I mean, you know, obviously 5,000 square feet, very small for a mixed-use application, but I understand the connectivity and the proximity in this particular case makes, to me, kind of, I understand where staff was coming from on making that a staff, because ordinarily, we like a mixed use that's
No
full-on
doubt, and
mixed use.
I'm totally with you, and I agree. I would not want to present something that didn't seem authentic. We even looked at, like, this corner, like having like some type of restaurant or something on the corner, but then it was kind of like, well, everything is pushing across the street. That's where and then below us, and it felt like it was going to be this missing thing. And so that's why we came back and we're like, let's do something we know can work. We own the office building, know we have tenants, and then they came over, they looked at where my office is right by the end, and the way they do that, right by the Aaron, it's really nice. And so it's basically like a little restaurant, but it serves the breakfast and lunch, which is really important in this area because there's so much office for here. So that's the reason for the variance, is we felt like, you know, if we could add something, but we felt like we'd be adding it just to try to add something to the application. But we felt like this was a better design, you know, having it in the office.
Thank you.
Councilman Hipes.
Thank you, Mayor. My interest following your presentation is the traffic flow after the relocation or elimination of the one exit. I'm very, very familiar with this area. I drove it yesterday and did the 360
Oh, yeah.
around. And the same is true today as it was when that retail complex was full, and that is if you're trying to exit onto Windward from the House of Pancakes, or does that even have a street name here? But it's the one that comes straight out.
Right, right.
Off hours yesterday when I drove around it, it was backed up considerably to get out of that traffic light to turn left or right. The people who were trying to come out of the strip shopping center where Curry's Pizza House and these other, you know, they were more or less a captured audience. So my question gets to the traffic flow. Your two current office buildings and what this future condo location would be, if you had the curb cut where the median is separated, you would turn left, you'd go down to Deerfield, and you would take the traffic light that would facilitate turning onto Windward and then onto 400. If you're forced out onto Morris Road, your choices then are, and this might be for Mr. Woodman also to follow up with his input on this. You're either going to do a U-turn to go back to Deerfield, or you're going to turn right on Old Morris Road, or you're just going to say, to heck with all that, I'm just going to cut straight through and try to get out at the traffic light that's already backed up before additional pressure's put on it, because you've taken away the best option to get onto Morris Road. So that's my concern. How do you respond to my concern?
I mean, when we looked at it and knowing that across the street, they were going to line up with Old Morris as a primary, and we have connection to Old Morris in two ways. You can go to Old Morris, you can go south, or you can go north, and then come across in the same manner to leave. So we have, you know, 4, 5 options. We can go south. This is an option. I've driven it quite a few times, especially ever since the Planning Commission hearing, trying to just feel that it didn't feel quite the same as what there were some of the concerns about.
Let me reframe my concern. I think you're definitely trying to answer my question, but I'm not sure I expressed it. When you leave this place, all roads that make any sense lead to that traffic light that's down there by the Cracker Barrel. If you
right.
turn right, you turn right on Old Morris. If you come out the back side of the parking lot, you go to Old Morris, leads down to that traffic light.
Right.
If you take the shortcut through, which is still available today, you come down to that traffic light. But what you have taken away is the ability to leave this property and to turn left onto Morris Road and go down to Deerfield with a traffic light and double turn lanes to get onto Windward. That's my concern. How do you respond to that? That all this traffic flow is going to end up right there coming out of this retail center where the Cracker Barrel is.
Right.
That's-
You can go east to Old Morris and do the same left if you want. Most people that I've seen come out of the main entrance, take a right, and then U-turn. Because when you do go to that far left one, you are crossing 5 lanes. You have to go across the decel lane of the median, the 2 lanes, and then the 2 lanes on the other side. It's a lot to take a left there. It feels like this is probably gonna be lighted in the future based on the massive plans across the street. And that was one of the driving factors for shifting, kind of over here, what we kind of kept seeing. And so, McKinley felt good about, that closing this because it's more dangerous. You got people coming around this bend here, that having this where they can take a right and then U-turn at probably a future light, or even not a future light because it's safer. Or you can come right here to Morris and do this left, or you can come immediately south or over to Morris and do this block around. I guess the answer is they felt in doing the traffic, the reason they did the traffic study was making sure that what they were doing still felt good to the traffic engineers about the way it was circulating through. And so that's the way we went with the plan.
So a follow-up question is, did you ever devise a contingent plan that's not being brought forward here where the entrance exit lined up where the median break is? The curb cut that you've done away with where the condo building sits, was there ever a plan where the buildings were arranged in such a way that that was where you came in and out of the property so that there was a more direct way over to Deerfield as opposed to everybody, 2 office buildings and a condo
Right.
complex dragging through a retail complex to a traffic light that gets backed up under the best of conditions?
Right. We looked at having the condo on the right-hand side of this over here, and it would kind of drape down and have the deck over here. When Smallwood looked at it, I mean, we all looked at it, it just didn't feel like it set up the best for the project, but we have looked at that, and that would have preserved it, but you're still driving through a parking lot to get over to that one. And so it didn't seem any different than going to Old Morris to us, because it was just the same movement.
Okay. I appreciate your responses. Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Orskey, do we have any public comment cards on this item?
We do not.
Now would be appropriate.
Mr. Woodman. What, if any, comments do you have about the traffic flow in and around this project and traffic ending up at that one intersection? I'm calling the Cracker Barrel intersection. I don't know what to call it, but everybody knows what I'm talking about. So it tends to come down and around to that, or you do a U-turn to get around to Deerfield. So have we looked at that, and how do you feel about it if we have looked at it?
What I can tell you about that connection is that George Doyle, our traffic engineer, did work with his counterpart in City of Milton. And so they discussed this potential vehicular connection going directly through the development as you just mentioned. And his counterpart and George made the determination that that was not necessary, that they only were concerned about the pedestrian connection, which is that multi-use trail that would be going along the west side of the condominium building. As Ken Wood had mentioned, I believe the City of Milton is focused on that intersection at Morris and Old Morris for a potential future light and access to their park property adjacent to this development.
All right, let me ask a related but different question. If this is approved, and if in the future it turns out to be a problem internally through that complex, traffic-wise, what, if any, latitude do we have to making changes to that median so that the exit from this complex doesn't block a left-hand turn coming out of there? Because the median is what stops a left turn.
The median on Morris Road,
Correct.
we would have to coordinate with City of Milton because that right-of-way is City of Milton's right-of-way.
It's possible.
It's possible, certainly.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Woodman while we have him? Thanks, sir. We have no public comment cards. However, if there's anyone that would like to come and speak in favor of this item, now is your opportunity to do so. I don't see anyone coming forward. If there's anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this project, now is your time to do so. And once again, I don't see anyone coming forward, so we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I offer a motion this evening to approve CLUP-25-05-05/V-25-32 McKinley Homes Morris Road project is presented to us this evening.
Second?
I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Merkel and a second by Councilman Dorito. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote yes. And it does pass unanimously. Congratulations. So the next two items on the printed agenda have been deferred, so we'll move into the new business portion of tonight's meeting. First item under new business is the purchase approval for the fiscal year 2026 police fleet replacement. Chief Lindgren, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I hope you all are well. For your consideration, we have the request for the approval of purchase of 7 2026 Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicles from Hardy Automotive under the state contract. The purchase amount is $313,705. And then an additional request to upfit these at the city's upfitting vendor Dana Safety in an additional amount of $156,864.75. The overall project cost is $470,569.75.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Do we have any questions for Chief Lindgren? Great job. No questions. Ms. Orozco, do we have any public comment cards?
No, sir, we do not.
However, if anyone would like to come forward and speak on this item, now's your chance to do so. I do not see anyone coming forward, so we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve FY 2026 police fleet replacement as presented this evening for an overall project cost totaling not to exceed $470,569.75 with authorization for the mayor to sign all necessary documents.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Driscoll, a second by Mayor Pro Tem. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote yes. And it does pass unanimously, so we'll move on to the next item, which is the agreement for the one-day Paris sidewalk encroachment agreement. Mr. Schroeder, I believe you have the opportunity to speak on this item.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, One Day in Paris restaurant planning on opening very soon in 35 Milton Avenue, which is the Hamilton Hotel, if you're familiar with that. They plan to be open Monday through Thursdays, 7 a.m. or so till 10 p.m. until midnight on the weekends. They're requesting approval for sidewalk encroachment for seating. There's a landscape area out front that they want to take for some seating. The city entered into a permanent maintenance and infrastructure easement with the Hamilton back in December of 19 that covered that area. And they're requesting to remove that landscape and do the seeding out there. The city attorney's office worked on drafting the agreement with them. This is the first one of probably a few. They did go through design review board and have all of their approvals through that for their materials in that area. And they were required at that meeting to show on their plan a 5-foot access path through the entire area that they were going to be able to maintain. That'll be their staff to maintain that area, probably enforced by my staff, but it'll be theirs to do. And that's it. If you have any questions,
Do we have any questions from Mr. Schroeder? Must have done a great job. Nobody had a question.
okay.
Right.
So
Councilwoman Reeves.
this agreement, do we have similar agreements in place for the other restaurants in downtown that encroach?
This is the first.
Okay, this is the first, which is why you said we will be seeing a number of them, right?
Potentially, yeah. One thing that did come up, remember Highway 9 is GDOT right away. So those restaurants won't be coming forward, but any of the others would come forward if they want to do seating in the area.
Okay, all right, thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Thanks, sir. Ms. Orhusky, do we have any public comment cards on this item?
No, we do not.
However, if anyone would like to come forward, now is your chance to do so. I do not see any public coming forward, so we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, I'd offer a motion this evening to approve the agreement, One Day in Paris Sidewalk Encroachment Agreement, as presented by Mr. Schroeder.
I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Merkel, a second by Councilman Hypes. Any discussion? Councilman Hypes.
Want to commend the Community Development Department for bringing this forward. Want to welcome our friends from France, our American French friends who are going to invest in our downtown. Very excited about your concept, but back to community development. This is something that I've longed for a while, and it's been one of my initiatives. We had a chance to talk about it at the retreat, and that is to create some agreements with expectations by our downtown businesses that balance the rights of those businesses to dine outdoors with the rights of our pedestrians to get through the city. When traveling, happened to come across one of these in St. Armand Circle down in Florida outside Sarasota, where they have outdoor seating licenses and restrictions, and it's very orderly. It's laid out well, and it's a win-win for the businesses and the pedestrians trying to get to those businesses. And so I'm excited this is the first. I'm hopeful that there will be more, and we'll set those expectations for our businesses with these sidewalk license agreements. And back to our friends from Paris, very excited about your business venture.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve, please vote yes. Congratulations, it passes unanimously. Welcome to Alpharetta. So the next item will be the agreement for the Sky Elements drone display. Mr. Rogers.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, I think I'm going to let Morgan off the hook, at least for this item. I don't know about the next one, but we talked about this item in the next one as to whether or not who was going to make the presentation for it. So
As you wish.
I indicated I'd make an attempt at this one. So as a result of our retreat and as a result of conversations with the City Council, as a result of several discussions relating to the 250th and this July 4th, we got several pieces of feedback that said we want to do something that's more elaborate in the 250th year, something that might include both the 3rd and the 4th and have a multi-day event. What's before you tonight is 2 items, 2 in a sequence. We did talk about a drone show. We also talked about live entertainment. Those are the two items that are in sequence for you. This first one is a drone show. It is proposed with Sky Elements LLC. Because this is entertainment, it is exempt from any type of competitive procurement according to our policy because of the fact that it's entertainment. But I will say that our city attorney worked on a comparable agreement with a different company for a different one of their clients that we were able to compare our proposal to and see that there was similarities between the proposals that were out there just in the in and amongst governments that were looking to do drone shows this year. The reason I elected to move forward with a recommendation for Sky Elements and not the company that I sought a quote from as a result of talking with the city attorney is Sky Elements is actually a company that will not only create and design the show that they produce, but they will also be the ones here on July the 3rd that produce it. We will have somewhere between 10 and 12 rotating images along with the choreographed music that go along with the show itself. There will be a brief interruption in the live music to go to the choreographed music for the show itself, and then back to the live music. This would be at a cost not to exceed $60,000. We're in the process right now because timing is really important. We're in the process now of trying to pick some of those good animations that would look good for our city. Once those are designed, you will see I will see, and I'll be happy to pass along to you the different animations and what they look like individually. And then collectively, we will have a video of what our show looks like before it ever appears in the sky over our city hall. So we'll have an idea of what it's going to look like prior to anybody else seeing it on July the 3rd. There were some questions as to how this could orient itself in our downtown, as to whether or not that Brook Street Park would be the front, the town green would be the front, where the drones would launch from, what the safety area had to be. We tried every sort of way that you could orient the downtown and make sure that we could have the show in the downtown as opposed to having it at Wills Park. There is one way that it can orient that we've come up with in the downtown that does not require us to cause people to stay inside their apartments, take control over hallways at the apartment complex, across the street, close roads, et cetera. And that is to have the show orient with the town green being the front, meaning people who come to watch the show will be on the town green, they'll be looking up over City Hall. And the event will take place directly above City Hall. The actual drones will fly from Brook Street Park. The music will be piped in. We basically just have to flip the event and have it be forward-facing to the town green as opposed to Brook Street Park. And that allows us not to have to go to the apartment complex and say you have to keep everybody in their apartments during this 15 minutes and off their balconies when there's drones flying above their head that they're going to want to see. So it just seemed like it was a better solution to what was being proposed. So. Tonight, I would tell you that if you were to approve this, we would fund it out of unallocated capital. This was kind of one of those things that is perfect for unallocated capital. It came forward as a result of a real-world thing, which is the 250th. It came forward as a result of not being a part of a budget process, so there's absolutely nothing wrong with you all deciding that we need to invest in this year's 4th of July, 3rd of July. This would be for the drone show to cost, again, not to exceed $60,000 with Sky Elements. I'll let you debate on that one, ask questions if you have any, and then take action, and then I'll make a quick presentation on the live performance for music that we've also put together for July the 3rd as well. I'll say all that, and then I'll end by saying July the 4th, which is the 4th of July, we will have our routine fireworks that we've always had in Alpharetta. We are adding a little bit of extra to that too, just to have a better day on the 4th that we routinely would have. Those will all go back to normal on the 4th starting next year. I heard that loud and clear from you all that this was a special event because of the 250th, this was a new and enhanced 4th of July. This is a special event for the 250th. So I'll hand this one over to you for the drone show first, and then I'll take on the presentation of the performance of music if this is successful in approving. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Lagerblum? Councilman Hydes.
Do we know if any other jurisdictions are doing something similar? And if not, I see, potential for, drawing outside people into Alpharetta if this is going to be relatively unique. Do you know?
Yeah, I don't have any of the other North Fulton cities. I don't have anybody who has committed at this point to me that they are doing a similar type of event. I do know Johns Creek has indicated they're having the 4th of July on the 3rd of July. So whatever they routinely do is happening on the 3rd instead of the 4th. I have heard that, but that would not be a addition like we're doing on the 3rd in addition to the 4th. So I have not. I've heard of another county, and I forget even what county that was that you forwarded to me, but it was not, it was It was outside of, I mean, it was suburban, but it was outside, directly in the middle of suburban Atlanta.
So in terms of the drone show itself with the music and what we've seen on YouTube video clips and that type of thing, we might be unique amongst some of the metro cities.
100%, yes. And I think that after having been on a couple of conversations with them already in design, I think there's ways that we can have up here in our sky, even if the town over next door to us were doing the same thing, we can have our own images that are going to be remembered to be Alpharetta, that will be in those pictures and on those postcards, if anybody sends postcards anymore. But on those pictures and postcards in the future that we would use for our display of that event over City Hall. I mean, I think it's really a great opportunity to put ourselves in a good spot for good pictures.
So if it's July 3rd, which it is, and it's unique, I hope we can take advantage of all of our advertising marketing outlets like CVB amongst many others. But
100%.
Councilwoman Reeves.
I was wondering if, in getting together the images and that sort of thing, if anybody has thought about maybe conversations with our Historic Society. I don't know if that would add anything, but you know, I'd love to see them as part of our celebration.
Yeah, I'd love to pick an image or two of the 12 and let them craft something that they could see in
I
the sky.
think it'd be really cool.
I mean, we're talking about flags and eagles and patriotic stuff, so that will all fit.
Councilman Brady?
It's kind of like, I just remember going to the laser show, kind of with the music and all this, kind of the new modern way of kind of theatrics that was kind of out there. Love the idea of all the music kind of going through, especially like Neil Diamond or something like that. I'm kind of going back, you really centered in on the timing. You said 15 minutes. Any way we pull the string somewhere there and kind of make that just a little bit longer? That's not too short. I'm wondering is 15 minutes from in flight that really there's only like a 10-minute kind of visual display and it's over so fast people are like, what happened? I want to make sure we present something that has some kind of length to it that has an impact.
I think we can do that, and there's plenty of time to take that feedback back. I think when we talk about 15 minutes, we're talking about actually having already gotten to their place of performing in the sky and actually already lit and then are performing for the 15 minutes. A lot of that is driven by the amount of battery juice that these have too once they send them up into the sky, as to how long they can stay there before they start to voluntarily find their way out of the sky. And we don't want volunteers coming out of the sky. So, but I'll ask that question this week, for sure.
Any other questions regarding this item? We don't want like the turkeys falling out of WKRP in Cincinnati. Okay, well, do we have any public comment cards on this item?
No, sir, we do not.
However, if anyone would like to come forward and speak on this item, now is your chance to do so. See no one coming forward, so I'll call for a motion.
I don't know whose motion it is, but yes, it's my motion, and I am happy to make it. I make a motion that council approve the contract with Sky Elements for a drone show to take place on July 3rd, 2026 for an amount not to exceed $60,000 and the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
I have a motion by Councilman Hypes and a second by Councilwoman Reeves. Any discussion? All those in favor, please vote yes. And it does pass unanimously. So next we'll move on to the second item. Will you be
Excellent.
doing
So,
this?
yeah, Mayor and Council, I sort of led into this one. This is the companion item. This is the music that would go along with the evening celebration. This is actually for a 2-hour concert that would begin that evening, somewhere in the neighborhood of 7:30 or so. The drones are anticipated to go on somewhere between 9:15 and 9:20. Similar to the fireworks the next day, they want the same level of darkness before the drones actually perform. So we're talking about the same time 2 nights in a row, which is why we would begin this at 7:30. Parks and Rec went out and used our vendor for live music, have secured a contract for a band, Party on the Moon, kind of a high energy, active cover band. Cost not to exceed $23,638. I know that may seem like a larger number for a concert. Frankly, that's just but a portion of some of the concerts that I've paid for on the 4th of July over the years in putting on public concerts, just because the 4th is a hard, 3rd or 4th or anything around that week it's a hard time to get anybody to perform to start with, and then once you find somebody, you want to make sure that the talent is sufficient, that we're willing to listen to them for a couple hours out back here at City Hall. So we did start with a couple of performers, and we were told, well, you know, if they performed on the 4th of July, which they don't, they would be $150,000. And we said, well, if they performed on the 4th of July, we still couldn't afford them. So we got our answer real quickly there. But this one, Party on the Moon, their YouTube videos look really good. Looks like it'll be really high energy. Looks like we'll have a crowd come out for it. They are available with our procurement uses the way we can move forward. Again, unallocated capital, 23,638. So our total cost basically for the 3rd of July would be just shy of $100,000. Seek your approval in this, and hope that we have a great 250th anniversary of the U.S. And happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions from council? Thanks, sir. Ms. Orhusky, any public comment cards?
We do not.
However, you still have an opportunity to speak on this item if you'd like. And I see no one come forward, so we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion that council approve the agreement with RCS Productions for a July 3rd concert at Brook Street Park in an amount not to exceed $23,638, and authorize mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Hyde, second by Councilman Brady. Any discussion?
Yes, sir. I think our city administrator has gone above and beyond with this project. I know he's been working on this coming up on a year. Some of the background for celebrating our 250th birthday anniversary as a nation. And I'm very excited that we're doing something special. And, you know, I think we are the leaders in North Fulton County amongst the cities. And I think it's vitally important on this very important weekend, the 250th anniversary, that we do something special. And I do believe because of the hard work put in by Chris Lagerbloom and his staff, I think we're going to have a really, really special weekend. And I appreciate you doing that. It means a lot.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote yes. And it does pass unanimously as well. Mr. Lagerbloom, I believe you have the next item, which is the appointment of the alternate Natural Resources Commission member.
That's great. Thank you, Mayor. Usually by this point in the evening, we've had the Morgan show, so I'm not sure why it's the Chris show tonight. But this was brought as an item from Mike Buchanan, who's the chair of the Natural Resources Commission. He brought this item and sat down with me and said, Chris, we have an alternate on the NRC that we've been short with members. We've had an alternate assigned to the NRC who has not appeared at all over the whole course of a calendar year as an alternate. We would like to, as a board, find somebody that is more able to fill in when we lack people, actually lack regular appointments to the commission. I brought forward a recommendation and a name here, and I would do a bad job trying to pronounce it, so I'm probably not going to. I'll just refer you to the staff report. And so this is a recommendation from the Natural Resources Commission. This was a resume that was submitted from Mr. Buchanan. We confirmed with the person that he submitted that they have interest in serving on the Natural Resources Commission as an alternate appointment. In working with the city attorney, the only way to replace an alternate is to replace somebody into their place. So there is no way for you all as a body to go forward and say, we need to extract the person that hasn't been showing up and we need to put somebody else in their place. You don't have the ability to do that with the way the code is written. The only way to do that is to actually appoint somebody, hence a name being brought forth tonight, to appoint somebody into that new alternate role, and that will cause the person that has been serving as an alternate but who hasn't been showing up to automatically fall off. Look to the city attorney, make sure she doesn't want to add any more to that. It was her interpretation of the code that brought us to that point. But that's why we're here tonight with a name as opposed to just an issue for you saying, guys, I need some help finding an appointment. So Mr. Buchanan brought forward the recommendation tonight. And like I said, the clerk's office has communicated with her, and we have, we were in receipt of the resume and have concurrence. I'm going to do my best to just say the name for the purposes of getting it on the record, and then I will take any questions that you all may have. The first name is spelled Nivedita, Navita, I'll stay with Navita, and Ranade, Ranade. And I apologize if that's just completely wrong, but I wanted to put something on the record as to who the Natural Resource Commission is recommending for appointment tonight as an alternate. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
Councilwoman Reeves?
I was just wondering if anybody spoke to Dana Davis. Like, hopefully somebody called her and said, hey, by the way. you're
I know we
getting
will,
replaced."
if we haven't yet. I have not yet. No, I've been procedurally more working forward the request from the board as to what they wanted to have happen. And then based upon the actions of the council, we will make sure that we tidy it up with all the members so that each of the members knows who's doing what. I'm seeing that Grace wants to weigh in, and maybe there's more to the story than I have.
We will be sending her a letter, and I'll make her a phone call as well. But I didn't want to do it before we did the actual appointment.
I'm just going to go ahead and say it. It seems really backwards that we wouldn't have, that nobody would have made a call to her. I love Mike Buchanan and I trust his judgment and all that, but I also know Ms. Davis, who's given a lot to the city over the years. And if it was me, I would feel like maybe somebody should call me first before they just vote to replace me. I mean, I have no problem with the suggestion. I just, I think it's backwards. I don't think it's polite.
I probably should have asked Mike to stick around. One of the questions I guess I would have for him is how many times they've reached out to Ms. Davis asking her to attend a meeting, which I understand from times talking with him that that's been multiple times and that they still don't have attendance. But again, we were more from a procedural perspective, figuring out what's the right way to make a replacement. And procedurally, that's how we're here.
Any other discussion? Do we have a motion from council?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, at this time, I would make a motion to approve the appointment of the alternate Natural Resource Commission member presented to us this evening.
Second.
Have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem, second by Councilman Dorito. Any other discussion? Councilman Brady?
I personally have not talked to Dana on this issue, but I've talked to her quite a bit over the years in her involvement, and I've seen where she's actually changed positions. I believe she was Parks and Rec at one time, and each time it was just more and more work, too much work. So I think she took this position thinking it would fit her family better, her young kids. But I'm happy to reach out to her myself tomorrow and just let her know what happened, and if she's upset about it, I'll definitely talk to her personally.
Any other discussion? Councilman Brady?
Yeah, I'd like to resonate that too. I've served with Dana on several boards, and she's done a great job for the city on different things. I know life gets in the way sometimes. We're family and those kind of things happens. I know some comments could be negative here, kind of saying that. She's done a great job serving, and I'm sure it's something that she can't make right now with her kind of family, and just thank her for all of her service and understand replacing is no problem at all.
Anything else? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote yes. And it does pass unanimously. So next up on our agenda is the work session item, T-Splosh 3. Director Sisevich.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For tonight is a revised list that we have come up with T-Splosh 3 based off some recommendations we've heard from the public, as well as from talking from council members, as well as looking at some construction costs as well. Unfortunately, the construction costs have gone up, so we've had to tweak some things around and move some projects around. And this is still preliminary. The final vote would be June 2nd that from Mayor and Council, so things can shift, things can change. This is not a permanent list. I know Councilman Reeves is having a meeting in a couple of weeks to go over some comments. I've heard some other council members have something soon too. So it's the fluid process, but I just want to get this on the radar because June 2nd will come up fast. So one thing we did do is reduce the maintenance cost citywide down to 30.8 million. And that was taking the numbers over 5 years from what's in our capital budget, preliminary capital budget for 27, and just multiplying it over the 5 years, and with a little bit of a cost increase as well for contingency. So I was able to reduce some things down. The Brookside corridor, that increased because the concept changed. Working with community development, we found out they wanted to have 8-foot wide and 12-foot wide sidewalks, no bike lane along Brookside corridor. It's a new plan that Kimley Horn developed for them that they recommend moving forward with. Adds a third vehicular lane in that area, so we're getting rid of all 4 vehicle lanes that are out there right now. It's basically keeping a center left turn lane that's there. Henry Road corridor stayed the same. That's still a 50-50 split with Roswell, and the CID is in the process of hiring a consulting firm to come up with preliminary concepts as well. So that number could evolve over time as well. Hopefully go down because that's all we're putting in is $3.5 million, but we'll have 2 additional partners. The Mayfield Road improvements has increased. We had too small of a left turn lane into the Alfred Elementary School. Stacking would back up too much. There's going to be a crossing guard that's going to be gone. We heard from that area as well. That helped out with some of the traffic moving and flowing in that area, so we had more stacking. And there's a little bit more right-of-way required during that process for that improvement to take place. And then we have 2 Alpha Loop sections. North Winds, that's from Killenbridge Road all the way down to the Hawk. That is on the Jackson Healthcare side. We're keeping all the existing trees, so we're basically holding the eastbound lane and moving everything over. So we're not doing a lane diet. We're just reducing the widths of the lanes from about 11.5, 12 feet down to about 10.5 feet all the way across to get us the additional 10 to 12 foot wide sidewalk that we want to have for the Alpha Loop. West Side Parkway, again, same project on the Avalon side, starting at the fitness park area and then crossing at the Hawk Signal there as well and going all the way up to Webbridge Road. 12-foot wide sidewalk. Need a little bit of right-of-way here and there to make things work, but pretty much we have the right-of-way that we need in that area. And then the last one is the Windward Parkway sidewalks. Adding that into the mix to get people to the park as well as to the greenway that we have, because we just finished the 4 pedestrian bridges. So it's improving the walkability connectivity in the Windward area. So it's open for dialogue. If we can move things around, it's just basic. I don't call it a shell game, but we're basically moving shells to fill dollars.
And just a reminder for the public that this is a work session. We won't be voting on this item. This is just an open discussion. So council. Councilman Hypes?
Yeah, real quick, Pete, can we get a map showing where these items are as a visual?
Yep.
And if you have one, if you could get that out, that'd be awesome. If not, I'll just look for one.
The team just wrapped it up last week, actually. So we have one for pending ones. But yes, we have it for T-Plus 1, 2, some other projects we have, basically all encompassing what we've done. That could add the new ones to it.
And I will full understand and certainly in discussions with people presented as a work in progress intended to, but a visual where these things are going would be real helpful.
Yep. And we'll, if you want us to, we could color coordinate it based off of tier 1, 2, and 3.
Councilwoman Reeves.
On some of these, playing off what Councilman Hypes has said, these other projects that are at the bottom, I know that there's been some looking at some issues, and nothing precludes any of these items being elevated due to safety concerns or anything like that. I know that there was conversation after an accident on Douglas Road recently, and you were getting some additional information about that, and that's just, can you kind of explain how that process goes and how that sort of gets to be reevaluated along the way by you all?
So before that accident even occurred, we hired a firm to go look at that intersection, see what could be improved upon. I'll call it an unfortunate accident, but our consultant was there when the accident occurred. And the consultant's the one that called 911 and called it in. So he was a witness for that. He looked at it. They also done a preliminary report for us with 4 recommendations for us to select from. I guess 5 if you want to do nothing. 1 is a stop sign. 2 is modifying the lane configurations. 3 is a traffic signal, and 4th is a roundabout. Those went from price from the least expensive to the most. The roundabout is very expensive, but just shy of $4 million. With the preliminary report, the traffic signal comes back with the biggest bang for your buck, biggest improvement for the least amount of dollars spent, about $750,000. We still need to get right away out there in that area and put the turn lanes in and everything too. So if you recall, the signal at Kimmel Bridge and Northwinds was about $250,000. So adding anything else in the right of way, we know we need that area. But it's a preliminary report. We're not ready to distribute that yet. We're going through the findings to make sure there are no errors or omissions, and then we could publish it. But we can add that to the list. We also have unallocated T-SPLOST funds too. So if it's deemed necessary to get a fast track of something in that area for a design, we can use funds in there as well that haven't been allocated yet to projects.
Thank you for giving that detail. I think that I've heard a lot of concern about that, and I think that they're going to be really happy to hear that the city's looking at some solutions.
Any other discussion? Councilman Dorito and then Councilman Brady.
Just to follow up with Councilwoman Reese on the Douglas Road situation. And I don't need to know the details right now, but just curious, was there other accidents there at that same intersection other than the one we're referring to?
There were other accidents, yes, but in the world of traffic engineering, you count an accident as it could have been stopped due to an incorrect configuration of the lane. In other words, if someone was driving 65 miles per hour and made a left-hand turn right in front of someone else's vehicle, that wouldn't be considered an accident because the intersection was designed incorrectly.
Okay.
You need to do safety measures, improve the safety, which is what we're looking at, but the configuration of the intersection is not considered unsafe.
And I just have one question or clarification.
Yes, sir.
And you and I have spoken many times at the Kimmel Bridge Road sidewalks on from Northwinds to West Side Parkway.
Correct.
Is that the 4.75 million?
Yes.
For just the sidewalk section?
Yes, and the reason why that is as high as it is we are buying all the right-of-way that we would need on that side of the road.
I thought we talked
for
about
the
moving that up.
configuration. Excuse me?
I thought we spoke at the last time we discussed this list, moving that up on the.
We most definitely can add it to, we just figure out which one we
Because
want to take off.
I mean, that's, yeah,
Yeah,
the
we
reason why.
didn't know the cost at that time.
And
so.
the reason why I say that is because you're talking about safety issues. That's a safety concern. People walk down there in the street to get over to West Side or to, sometimes they just walk around and, exercise, whatever. But
yeah.
a lot of people do walk along those. And they're concerned about it, but.
That now comes a challenge, is let's just round it up to $5 million right now, is what do we remove from tier 1, that's 5 or.
And why is it so much? Because we have a section already done near Diamond Glass and.
This is going all the way down to West Side Parkway, doing the true 8-foot or 10-foot lane, or 10-foot sidewalk in that area. I'm pretty sure it's 10 feet.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, and it's buying all the right-of-way we have to buy.
Okay, it's the right of way.
So we're basically buying everything we need to put the 4 lanes in, but just not putting the additional
I'm
lanes
not
in.
suggesting we have to do it, because you're the professional. So maybe it doesn't need to be pushed up on the list, but I'd like it to be considered because we've talked about it
Okay.
for years.
Yep.
And it would complete that sidewalk section.
Yep, we'll work with
connecting to
things.
the west side. Thank you.
Councilman Brady?
Since it's a workshop, I'm going to go bring it up because I had something before. And really what this is as we become more of a walkable environment, I always kind of see these crosswalks as being kind of a little bit more from a safety application. The motorists is kind of, the cars kind of come through and you get people kind of walking in there. I kept on looking at how safe some of our crosswalks are. We've had accidents with people. And that you kind of look at it as the hawk system. You can't put a hawk in everywhere, right? You have these kind of lighted applications that they kind of light up, and then you put lights in the actual crosswalk. All that costs money. I remember driving through Dunwoody and Sandy Springs, especially like Perimeter Mall, and I was amazed at color. and they had in their crosswalks like a red or like a burgundy kind of color in their crosswalks. But I was amazed how visually what an impact that actually had, that it didn't have the lights, didn't have all things, but you were very aware of it, not just the normal, you know, the white kind of piano across the black asphalt, and how much it actually stuck out and made it aware. So it stuck in my head for so long. I was like, that's really a great idea because you're more and more aware of it. And I thought of maybe something like that, starting maybe something, or at least have the ideas of this, maybe in the downtown area, that you would have something like that, or even maybe a more of a green one for the Alpha Loop, that you kind of track those kind of things. So I think from a safety, it's something we could kind of really look at for minimal dollars for an impact, since it's just painting.
So we have talked.
Yep.
The CIDs down there spend a lot of money on their maintenance.
Mhm.
It gets painted every couple of years. Talked to the city of Woodstock. They have installed them as well, and they're noticing there is fading as well. Even on a 35-mile-an-hour road.
Mhm.
It just becomes a maintenance. If we're gonna put money towards the maintenance, towards painting it red, green, whatever color you wanna have, it just keeps up. It's more
We have a
frequent.
safety factor too, right? So you're gonna have a balance of, you know, is it?
There is no hard data that
Yeah.
says you will improve safety in that area with a red and white or red and green crosswalk. Illumination is more of a key for it. And in fact, we prefer, this is gonna sound really bad, but people pay more attention when they're jaywalking than if they're in a crosswalk. They're making sure the cars aren't
Fair
coming.
enough. Fair enough.
So the challenge, well, it just comes down to a maintenance. If the council wants to move forward with something like that, we most definitely could look into it. And then the repeat, just the vehicles going over it. And
Let me ask you a different question, then kind of taking a little
Yeah.
further. Price pressures. Where are you seeing the most amount of price pressures out there in the market? You know, is it milling and resurfacing? Is it concrete for sidewalks? Where are you finding the most amount of pressure? How far does your dollar go based upon one application that is really starting to have pressure?
Oil right now is very speculative, and it's going nothing but higher. We've already figured that out for our milling resurfacing for next year. We know we'll be doing probably less lane miles next year than we did this year than we did the previous years. And then it's concrete as well, the aggregate. We do have a small project taking place along 400 that's eating up a lot of it as well. So we will notice, we'll watch it. So we're trying to get ahead of it a little bit.
It's asphalt, concrete.
And they're making their own concrete out there. They're taking care of properties, and they're gonna bring in their own aggregate and their own cement, and make their concrete. So we're not competing with that, we're just competing with the materials.
Okay, thanks.
Any other discussions? Thank
Got
you,
it.
Pete.
Yep.
We'll continue to work through this process and refine it before we have to bring
Thank
the list to the voters. So that'll wrap up the work session for this evening. Do we have any public comment cards?
No, sir, we do not.
However, you have one last chance to come forward and speak if you'd like to speak. I don't see any public coming forward, so we'll close public comment. Do we have any reports? Councilman Hypes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For those in the audience and listening in, tomorrow evening will be the second of a series of town hall meetings that we call Talk About Town. It's going to be over at the beautiful Alpharetta Arts Center from 5 to 6:30. Mayor Pro Tem Dan Merkel is co-hosting this town hall meeting, so we hope you all will turn out. We'll try to impart a little information and then look forward to questions, comments, insights from our fellow residents. Thank you.
Councilwoman Reeves.
And Pete mentioned it earlier, but I'm planning a community meeting on the 28th of April, 6 to 7:30, across the hall, right up here, and Public Works will be there to answer questions. We're going to go over the T-Splosh list and some of the things that are planned, and explain the process so that people understand. We want flexibility, and we want to have the project's designed but not set in stone too hard at this point. So looking for input, looking for feedback, and thanks for all the help in getting this ready. The team's been working with that, and I'm looking forward to it.
Any other? Do we have an executive session We do. Okay. So I'll call. Well, I wasn't clear until. Yes. Do I have a motion to vote to recess into executive session?
So moved.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem, second by Councilman Brady. Any discussion? All those in favor, vote yes. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be leaving for a few minutes and return shortly.
And just for the record, we will be discussing litigation and real estate and anticipate some action being taken after the meeting, or after executive session.
Okay.
Chris.
Or condolences, whichever is. Where do you live? Oh, okay. Yeah, I used to live in Sheridan Park. You have an invite to our quarterly HOA meetings? If you don't, I don't have time because they're waiting on me and we're paying our attorney by the hour. But, oh, you're welcome. So I got suckered into all this. You have your phone? I don't have a printed copy. It should give you all my contact information. Good. So every 3 months, we have representatives from the HOAs in Alpharetta to come together and all collaborate, ask questions, and meet with me. So we just had one last week, I think. So it'll be another, but if you reach out to us, I'll make sure you're on the list. You're welcome. Welcome. How long you been in Alpharetta? Do we have a motion to reconvene the regular meeting?
Second.
Motion by Councilman Dorito, second by Councilwoman Reeves. Any discussion? All those in favor, please vote yes. And it does pass unanimously. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Actually, I'd like.
Oh, we're going to go ahead and vote?
Yeah, I'd like to, Mr. Mayor, if I could, as a result
Sure.
of the executive session, I'd like to add to the agenda a settlement agreement with Geico Insurance and Clay Philip Prus in an amount of $25,000 net of the fee that is due to Neville Law Firm, resulting in the amount paid to the city of Alpharetta, $21,185.32, with the balance of $25,000 remitted to the Neville Law Firm. This, Mayor and Council, this would be as a result of a settlement, an accident that occurred in Alpharetta. Get enough on the record for the purpose of the settlement agreement. Accident that occurred in Alpharetta, Mansell Road at Davis Drive, resulting in damage to a fire hydrant. This was mediated after a result of a lawsuit with the person that damaged the fire hydrant, and we have resulted in bringing forward with this recommendation for this settlement agreement between Geico, Mr. Prus, as well as fees paid to the Neville Law Firm. I don't have any other further presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Lagerbloom on this item?
Can I make a procedural tweak? Just so-
You're the attorney, you can do anything.
Thank you. I think for the clerk's purposes, for the agenda and the minutes, I think it would be better to make a motion to add those items to the agenda first, and then vote on them as recommended by Mr. Lagerbloom.
Do you have specific wording for adding that to the agenda that would be helpful to someone to make a motion?
Yeah, I can do it. It's a settlement agreement between Geico, Clay Philip Prus, and the city of Alpharetta in an amount not to exceed $25,000, as well as a dispersal statement between the city of Alpharetta and Clay Prus related to fees due to Neville Law Firm.
So move.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem, second by Councilman Dorito. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion as outlined, please vote yes. And it does pass unanimously. Is there anything else we need to take care of?
And so then now it would be a motion to approve those items.
Do we have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem, second by Councilwoman Reeves. Any discussion? All those in favor, please vote yes again. And it is passed unanimously. Thank you. Now do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Councilman Brady, second by Councilman Hypes. All those in favor, please vote yes. And we are adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.